to the outside.
Dry mouth, nausea, vomiting, blood pressure problems, psychosis, paranoia, panic reactions, and contrary to popular belief, even death. Somehow it has become part of popular culture to accept widespread use of a drug that can wreak havoc on the body. If you're a marijuana user or support its legalization, I hope I can persuade you to give consideration to the negative effects that this may have on your health and on society as a whole. Statistics say that 52% of adults under 25 have used marijuana before in their life, and I have to admit, I'm one of them. However, each time I tried, I couldn't force myself to understand what the hype was all about. First, I will explain the effects of marijuana on the body. Second, I will touch on the discussion of the addictive qualities of marijuana. And last, I will discuss the correlation between marijuana and other legal activities. The main claim of marijuana activists is that the health benefits of marijuana outweigh the risks, but after a few minutes of research, I decided that wasn't true. There's evidence that marijuana can not only cause extensive psychological damage, but irreplaceable damage to cardiovascular and respiratory systems. According to a Newsday article, Health Risks Tied to Pot, the younger a person is when they begin using marijuana, the more likely they are to have extreme heart problems. The average age of participants in a French study of almost 2,000 adults who have heart complications but also have a history of marijuana usage is 34. Various complications that were studied include heart attacks, vascular disease, damage to blood vessels, and damage to arteries. Marijuana users also experience higher risk in stroke, lung cancer, and neurocognitive diseases than non-users. Obviously, all drugs, legal or not, have a risk of side effects. The legality of a drug depends on whether or not the benefits outweigh the negatives. If inhaled, cannabis can cause more damage to the lungs and cardiovascular system than it does good for stress levels or pain. If eaten in baked goods, it is difficult to measure the quantity of marijuana, and it is very easy to overdose. Since legalization in Colorado, there have been 2 deaths linked with marijuana and numerous car wrecks, accidents, and hospitalizations. Regardless of method of ingestion, the possible risks in marijuana usage include drop in IQ, loss of memory, addiction, schizophrenia, problems with hormone production, problems with immune function, and heart function, according to a study in Addiction Research Foundation. One popular argument used by pro-legalization advocates is that marijuana is not addictive. The truth is, marijuana can be extremely addictive, especially for people who have addictive personalities. One common definition of addiction is the compulsive use of a substance despite ongoing negative health effects. By this definition, 10% of people who regularly use marijuana fit this description. Another definition, used most, according to doctors and Time magazine, is having a psychological craving for a substance that willpower alone cannot control. While only 10% of marijuana users are addicted as compared to 15% who use alcohol or 23% who use heroin, it is still a fact that marijuana is addictive. Starting from a young age, we often hear that marijuana is a gateway drug. If someone has used marijuana more than once, they are more likely to commit other crimes, use other drugs, or use marijuana for their whole lifetime. 52% of adults age 20 admit to using marijuana at least once. Again, according to the Addiction Research Foundation, cannabis users are more likely to use tobacco, alcohol, and other illicit drugs. It is also likely that because drug dealers also offer harder drugs, that people are more likely to use other drugs as well. Marijuana is also linked to criminal activity. 60% of people who are arrested for any crime have marijuana in their systems at the time of arrest, according to the National Bureau of Economic Research. With extensive health risk of addiction, and crime rate associated with marijuana use, it is hard to understand why making access easier and more acceptable would be a good thing. So first I told you about why marijuana can risk your health, why there's a risk of addiction, and how it is linked to other crimes. I hope if you are for the legalization of marijuana, you can see the other side and kind of rethink for your own benefit and for society as a whole.